This is a very unsettling situation. A drone armada buzzed U.S.'s largest nuclear power plant in Arizona, and authorities still have no idea why this is going on. This reminds us of what happened over Colorado the end of last year. Drone swarms coming out after sunset, buzzing around for hours, and the authorities and the armed services have no idea who's doing this. They're saying as long as there's no damage, we don't care. Well, to me, that's an absurd way of thinking of this, because obviously, if you don't know who they are, they have no permit to do this, to fly drones in swarms above grids, above the areas of what some people call security areas, secured classified areas. That's not in the interest of national security. And now we have this going on. The incident took place last year, has led to heightened fears about the security of America's energy infrastructure. Obviously, the tiny armada of between 4 and 6 unmarked drones flew over Palo Verde Generating Station nuclear plant in Arizona. This took place in the nights of September 29 and 30th of 2019, with plant security proving unable to stop them, and authorities are still uncertain who was operating them or why. So obviously these types of drone armadas, the swarms, were not only over Colorado, they were also over the largest nuclear plant in the nation, over Arizona. Now, details about the incident were uncovered in a trove of documents released by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission after Dean Johnson, who is a researcher with the Scientific Coalition for Unidentified Aerospace Phenomena Studies, I guess you would call them UFOs in some people's dictionaries, put in a Freedom of Information Act requesting the authorities to disclose this to him. This is what he tweeted. D. Johnson tweeted, breaking, FOIA, mystery drones survey nation's largest nuclear plant on the nights of September 29 to 30th, 2019. At the largest U.S. nuclear plant, Palo Verde in Arizona, staff watched multiple large drones of unknown origin flying in, through, and around the protected area. So if the authorities don't know who's behind this, obviously it's a problem. It's a national security problem. Now, during each incident, the drones reportedly flew through the secure perimeter, over the gates, and into the plant, after which they hovered over the facility for some time before leaving. This is unbelievably dangerous in my book. Now, the documents obtained by Johnson is specific that on September 29, about 8:50 p.m., again, as we see, it's after sunset, September, just about twilight. I would say it's already dark. Security reported spotting 5 or 6 drones measuring about 2 feet in diameter, so obviously they're pretty big, as you can understand, flying about 200 to 300 feet over the plant, with red and white indicator lights flashing and spotlights turned on during the approach. They even had spotlights. And how is it that they were allowed to do this? Now, the lights were then turned off and the UAVs idled near Reactor 3 for over an hour before leaving the area. And what happens if they had damaged the nuclear plant? Tell me this. What happens if they had done something to damage the plant? So now on September 30th at 8:51, as you can see, it's about the same time, 4 drones returned with spotlights turned off this time and again remained in airspace over the plant for some time before vanishing. Documents indicate the local sheriff's office was notified about the incident and searched for the drones and their operators in the vicinity, but turned up empty-handed. The FBI, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the Department of Homeland Security were contacted. Now, of course, this is a terrible potential security risk. The Palo Verde NPP generates about a third of all Arizona's electricity. In addition to customers in that state, exports part of its power to New Mexico, Nevada, California, and Texas. So speaking to the Arizona Republic newspaper about this incident, Palo Verde Site Services Vice President Mike McLaughlin said that, quote, there did not appear to be coordinated movements between the drones, end quote, and noted that their nighttime flight made it difficult to determine their exact number, size, or altitude. Obviously, that's why they come at night, so people can't find out the particulars and the details, how many they are, what types of craft they are, what type of painting, designation they have. Now, McLaughlin suggested that it's possible that the drones were operating legally, which is why plant security did not shoot them down. There are families and homes around, he said. I don't want to be the station that unilaterally takes action against drones. Okay. Obviously, he needed a clearance to take them down. Now, Arizona's laws prohibits, okay, listen to this, prohibits the operation of unmanned aerial vehicles less than 500 feet above ground. These were 200 to 300 feet above ground, so obviously they were operating illegally. So the law prohibits aerial vehicles less than 500 feet above critical infrastructure, with FAA guidelines prohibiting operation below 400 feet at the designated national security sensitive facilities. Well, okay, that's not just that. It's just that this was a prohibited area. Not the fact that they were flying too low, but they were not supposed to be flying over that. Now, the FBI reportedly coordinated with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission after the second incident on the September 30th flight, but the regulator concluded that there are currently no significant vulnerabilities to nuclear power plants that could be exploited by adversarial use of commercial drones to result in radiological sabotage or theft or diversion of special nuclear material. This is, to me, a lot of BS, because of course they can, adversarial commercial drones can cause damage. Of course they can. There's over 1,000 ways it can do it. Now, these sentiments were echoed in the documents obtained by Johnson. I totally disagree with him, but that's, these are the officials in charge, unfortunately. With one official writing the incidents off as a drone-a-palooza in an email, and Lara Pearson, official in charge of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, Intelligence and Threat Assessment Branch, writing in another email calling about the drone incident would only be handled during regular office hours, and that her staff should not be bothered about them in the middle of the night. If I were her boss, I'd get rid of her in 2 seconds flat. Laura Pearson. She doesn't want to be bothered by this in the middle of the night. No kidding. Of course, that's your job. You have to be bothered by this. Not all observers are so nonchalant. Drone DJ, a drone industry-related news site, suggested that the large size of these drones indicates that they, quote, were not a common off-the-shelf type and were likely something custom-made or manufactured for commercial or even military use. No kidding. Of course they're not off-the-shelf type. They're specially made to do something, to gather information about these very sensitive and very dangerous locations of nuclear material. He said, let's say the drones were equipped with explosives or were kamikaze-style design. They could have been able to hit various pipelines in vital areas within the power plant, causing it to slow down energy production at the minimum. If the drones were powerful enough, they could likely knock out a power plant that provides Arizona with 35% of its power and supplies power to Phoenix and Tucson, San Diego, and Los Angeles. Now, last year, we said that the masked drone attack on 2 major Saudi Aramco facilities in Yemen's Houthi militia temporarily wiped out half of the kingdom's oil output. In his analysis of Palo Verde incidents, Forbes contributor David Hamling suggests that the Saudi attack should be a wake-up call that such unmanned precision strikes are not just the preserve of state actors anymore. Now, the War Zone website similarly warned that these events highlight concerns about the dangers of a potential adversarial attack involving small unmanned aircraft, these drone swarms, and the need to ensure that there are adequate defenses against them. The outlet blasted the helpless and even cavalier attitude of those tasked with ensuring security at the nuclear power plant, suggesting the incident served as an alarming, glaring example of how neglected and misunderstood this issue is. Of course, I agree with that. Now, what were these drones doing there? It's not clear what these drones were doing at the facility, but Hamlin suggests that it might have been intelligence gathering because a simple test of the plant's defenses could have been carried out using a single drone. But these swarms, 2 nights in a row and at dark, so with their floodlights out, they probably were taking images and videos using infrared. Now, surveyors use drones fitted with LiDAR, light-based radar, to build accurate three-dimensional pictures of buildings and landscapes with an accuracy, three-dimensional pictures of buildings and landscapes with accuracy of few centimeters. Others use drone-based photogrammetry technique, which correlates a large number of two-dimensional images into a full three-dimensional one. Either process requires much longer than a straightforward flyover, which may be explained why they're so long, and so many drones. Now, saying that the intruders may now have highly detailed maps of Palo Verde plant showing the exact location of every valve, every pipe, every switch and control, the Forbes contributor suggests that the plants may have been sold on the dark web or even set aside for later use. And he warned that either way, it's an alarming demonstration of how easily drone intruders can now go anywhere, anytime they wish, especially in the United States. This is unbelievably negligent. I'm happy that there are people out there making FOIA requests to bring this information out into the open in order to force the officials that are responsible for the defense and the protection of our critical infrastructure to be properly protected. If these people can't do the job, they should be replaced 2 seconds ago, really. Please leave your comments. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.